Hey, what's up, everybody? My name's Chris Enriquez. I'm the drummer of Spotlights and the host of the new web series Age of Quarantine. This is a new web series that I started about a week ago, and we've been interviewing artists every night, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's been going great. Thank you so much for supporting everything that we do. If you want to donate to help St. Vitus Bar on Venmo, it's at Saint/Vitus/bar. That's the Venmo. I'll repeat that at the end. But my guest tonight, who I'm about to have join in, is one of my favorite drummers of all time. He's the original drummer of Helmet, and what you hear in the background is Battles, his current band. He also plays in Tomahawk. He's a legend, especially here in New York, and I'm going to be patching him in here so we can all talk to him and ask some questions. All right, let's give him a second here, and we should be seeing him shortly. Shout out to Artie Shepherd. Hey, there he is.
Hey, man.
What's up, John?
How are you?
Thank you so much for doing this with me tonight. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I want to give a shout out to Artie Shepherd from St. Vitus too for making that happen. So yeah, man. How are you getting through this tough time right now? What's been going on with you?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's pretty weird. So I've already done the like sitting around doing nothing all day thing, and that's gotten a little old. So I just got to like somehow keep busy. There's a million things that I can do. So, a lot of unfinished projects in my house, et cetera, et cetera. So there are things I can do, but yeah. It's insane.
I'd imagine it affected your touring schedule and some things you had coming up as well.
It was totally devastating. Yeah. It ruined the rest of our touring, really. I mean, I guess we'll continue later, but a bunch of tours have already been canceled, and I was so bummed. I was really looking forward. Yeah, because we were kind of just in the middle of our touring the universe everywhere tour, so we're doing it in shorter spurts. Ian has a family now, and so we tour in shorter little spurts, but we still have like a ways to go.
Yeah,
devastating.
Well, I hope that I hope that everything gets rescheduled so that everyone can see Battles come back, and the new album is great, and I know it's been well received. So the timing, horrible. Well, I've been doing this for the past 2 weeks to kind of get people in better spirits. So, I wanted to take the opportunity to kind of go back to hopefully some positive things in your life and take you back to the early, beginnings, if that's cool. When I kind of just, yeah, man. So you're a native New Yorker. What part of New York did you grow up in? I'm not
a native New Yorker. I'm originally from Pittsburgh and outside Miami. And then I moved to New York in 1988. So, I mean, I've been here for a while, yeah. But I didn't grow up. Yeah.
I did not know that. Thanks for correcting me, man. I just always associated you and New York as this, like, synonymous thing. But it makes sense because you've been here for so long. What was music a big part of your childhood? When did you realize that you were passionate about music?
Yeah, absolutely. Really big time. I was in band. I mean, I knew that I wanted to be a drummer as long as I could remember, like so far back. And then I basically dropped out of college. I did the whole, like, I'm going to take 1 year off, and if nothing happens, I'll go back to college. That whole routine you have to tell your parents. Because all I wanted to do was tour. So from like really early on. So, and I was pretty lucky that I'm glad I did that, of course, and moved to New York when I did, because I feel like I started kind of young, which is cool. I mean, it just means a longer career, really. Just like keep it going. So I wasn't one of those people that, finished college and got their graduate degree and then decided, like, oh, maybe I'll be in a band kind of thing. I just went for it at 19. So that was like a perfect age to do that, I think. So I feel glad I made that decision.
And when did you start playing drums exactly? When did you start stepping out of just being a fan of music and becoming an actual musician?
I guess in like junior high school, really. I was in bands all through high school. And then I was an orchestral percussion major in college, and I was also in a band at the same time there. So yeah, really early on. I mean, from like 16, maybe 15 or 16 on.
Seems like an average age for a lot of people. What were the bands? And you know, I'm going to also ask about drummers later on. But like, what were the bands that had a huge impact on you that made you want to kind of, you know, that inspired you to play?
I guess kind of I was like a prog rock nerd at first. And that was, you know, like Rush, of course, is my all-time favorite band. Rush, a lot of Yes, a bunch of King Crimson, Emerson, Lake and Palmer. I was really attracted to that music. And some fusion like Mahavishnu and Return to Forever, stuff like that. Because the players were just so good. Their chops were like totally amazing. So that made me want to play even more. I think like all those drummers I just mentioned are fantastic. So, and it was really pretty interesting music, and that lasted basically until, I mean, at the same time I guess I was kind of just into like stupid classic rock that's on the radio, but that lasted basically until I got super into punk and hardcore, really. And it just, that completely turned things in a completely different direction.
Yeah, I saw recently on your socials you were posting some old school 7 inches and some gems from your hardcore and punk rock collection. What were some of your early favorites from that time that you were getting into the whole scene?
I guess, you know, like everyone else, it would be Bad Brains, Roar cassette. I really, really liked more than anything else. The Roar cassette, the first Minor Threat, you know, maybe Social Distortion. What else? Agnostic Front, Breakdown. I don't know, Corrosion Conformity, DRI, all that stuff.
Those are some fucking classics, and it's funny because Breakdown has come up on this web series, actually on multiple episodes. Probably because we're a New York-based venue and a New York-based, web series, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, man, that's fucking awesome. It's funny that you mentioned that. This Saturday, I'm going to be interviewing Chaka from Burn and, of course, Orange 9mm.
Cool.
He had put out a cassette tape compilation in the late 80s called New Breed, and they made a documentary that's up streaming and breakdowns on it and a lot of the early New York bands. So cool. Yeah, man, a lot of the drummers and bands you mentioned, like Mahavishnu, obviously Rush, like I see a lot of that especially come out in your drumming style later on in your career. I mean, you've always been very interesting as a drummer. Even listening to Helmet, some of the timing, people don't realize. I'm a drummer, so I know from covering your songs, like whoa, that was a weird thing. You know, you don't hear it, but when you start to try to play it, you realize there's a lot of tricky stuff going on. Let me ask you about Helmet. When did Helmet officially start? You know, I know you mentioned you moved to New York in the late 80s. So, you know, when did that come together and how did that all come together?
I think, let's see, I guess it started in very late, I could be totally wrong, but it's either super, super late 1988 or really early 1989. But I was lucky in the fact that, you know, I already had a job, a really nice job in an advertising agency. And I had a roommate in an apartment. So I was pretty lucky when I first moved here, and I was very like focused and driven as far as like wanting to get into a band. So I didn't fall into like a lot of the distractions and stuff that were happening in the late 80s in New York. I mean, of course it was a pretty rough place at the time. And, you know, I just kind of stayed away from all the bad stuff and just was, like I said, I was super focused. And I, believe it or not, met Paige. I think Paige and Peter Mengede already decided they wanted to form a band. And I answered an ad in the Village Voice, of all places. which is
Oh man,
hilarious.
his voice, I missed that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really funny because I used to occasionally I would actually right when I moved to New York, I would just comb the voice and like answer ads, and if the phone conversation was cool, then I would go and like audition. And yeah, it was really fun. It was super, super, super cool. Actually, the very first group I ever auditioned for was I think they were called the Devil Dogs, and it was like somebody from Token Entry.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
It was
Oh,
like
yeah.
somebody, I think it was Token Entry. Somebody who was in Token Entry, or what's before Token Entry, like Gilligan's Revenge or something like that.
Yeah.
One of those two bands, but it was like really like kind of rockabilly almost. And they were just like, they were really funny because they were just like, they're like, you don't want to be in this band. Like, it's cool. So they like kind of pointed me in the right direction. They're really cool guys. I wonder whatever happened to them, but I was excited because they had already toured Europe, and I really wanted to start. I wanted to just start touring immediately. So, and so Helmet started, and then right after Helmet started, I was also in Crawl Pappy, a New York kind of hardcore, sort of hardcore band that was on Blackout, and that was really fun. Those are great guys.
John, what was the name of that band?
Crawl Pappy.
Okay, I got to look that up. I've never heard the band.
Yeah.
Check that out.
Yeah. It's on Blackout. It was called on 1 7-inch. They had like the EP, the really good EP is the one before me, and that was like with the guy from Absolution and actually the drummer from Alice Donut, who went on to join Alice Donut. And then of course Rick and Brian. So that was a really cool band. It was different than Helmet. But then Helmet really started to take off. I feel like once we signed to Amphetamine Reptile Records, it was kind of game over. And, we just really, all of us were super driven, and that's all we wanted to do was tour. So it was like heavy touring. And then the rest is kind of history. Like right after that, it's like Interscope and even more touring, you know.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
I just want to tell everybody out there, I see that people are asking questions and commenting. There's a little question mark button on the bottom I should have mentioned earlier on. So if you do have any questions, it's just easier if you guys submit your questions that way. I'll try to go back in a little bit. Yeah, man, you answered a couple of the questions that I had already, kind of just like throughout the career. I was going to say, like, when did you realize that your band was turning into something larger than just a local band?
I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, we kind of like, a lot of people didn't even really know that we were from New York, but because we just started touring like right out of the gate. So it's just kind of like, we were just this like American band that was constantly on tour. And, you know, to truth be told too, it's like, we sort of had something to do with like the New York scene that was going on at the time, but we like left that kind of right away and just started touring, where I feel like there was like the hardcore matinee scene, the New York hardcore scene, but then there was also like this kind of post noise rock kind of scene that was also in CBGBs.
Cop Shoot
like,
Cop.
you know, Surgery, Cop Shoot Cop, Radar, Unsane.
Yeah.
That whole scene, that's what we belong to that. But a lot of hardcore people liked us, so we were sort of accepted by them as well. So it was pretty cool actually. So, but we just started we started touring on our first 7-inch. And as soon as we signed to Amphetamine Reptile, which is from Minneapolis, that's just a whole nother ballgame. Now we were part of like that clique of bands, and we like represented Amphetamine Reptile, and you know, it was a unique situation.
Yeah, man. I was going to ask you too, like, there weren't a lot of bands, at least when I first heard of Helmet. I know some of the bands you mentioned, Cop Shoot Cop, Unsane, but in general, there wasn't that many bands that you guys sounded like. You guys kind of had your own thing. Obviously, later on, there were a lot of bands that sounded like you. But what were you guys, when you guys came together, like, what was the I know it's a redundant question, but like, I guess what I'm trying to get at is like, what were your influences? And, you know, I know it's a generic question, but.
I don't know. I mean, like, I think Page, you know, obviously he's the main songwriter. He was in Glen Branca for a while, so there's a lot of it's like some Glenn Branca in there. I think he had like a degree in a master's in, you know, jazz guitar or something like that. So that's like him coming from this totally separate world. So it's the combination of like, it's the combination of Glenn Branca and AC/DC, and then throw in some like young kids in there to just twist it even more. And we kind of just like stumbled upon this like unique sound, like our niche sort of sound, and we just kind of went with it. So yeah.
A friend of mine, somebody just mentioned Sonic Youth, and it reminded me, a friend of mine told me he actually shared a practice space. I wanted to know if this was true.
Yes.
Was it Sonic Youth, Helmet, and my buddy's band in the basement of some, I think it was Welcome to the Johnsons or one of those bars. Is that true?
Yeah, well, it was on Mott Street, and it was it was basically, I feel like it was like 4 or 5 levels below ground, and I found out later that it used to be a morgue during the Civil War. So it was like just this like sub basement. Yeah, and yeah, Sonic Youth were in there. We got it through them, and you know, good friends with them. And then there were a bunch of other like weird side projects in there. I think like Prong was down the hall.
Wow. Yeah.
And then after that, I forget if it was before that or after that, but we went to this rehearsal place on Worcester Street, and it was like this kind of creepy guy ran it, and it was us, Sick of It All, and Prong. Maybe that's where Prong was. And then I think the Cro-Mags took over our room. It's because we weren't in there for very long. But the place was a gargoyle storage like warehouse. It was insane. You just walk into the back room and it was just filled with huge gargoyles. Totally cool.
Dude, these are some great gems, man. I love it.
Yeah.
Hey, Josh Lozano, shout out to Josh Lozano. I'll ask you a question in 1 second, but before we get past the practice space thing, my buddy Brad Talinsky, who actually started Guitar World, he was in one of the bands that shared that space with you. He told me Sonic Youth had guitars in different tunings hung up on all the across the wall because I guess they didn't really know how to play well, so they just had to have a different guitar for every song.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah,
cool.
that was their thing. Oh, absolutely. I mean, the guitar tech for Sonic Youth, I think it was Jim Vincent, is a job and a half. Like, because those guys, they change guitars like every song, and they're radically different tunings, which is amazing. Thurston.
So Josh Lozano from the band Fashion Week, he wants to know, Luis told me, he used to work at CBGB's.
Okay.
Luis told me that Helmet did a Monday night audition at CBGB. Was that your guys' first show?
Yes. And
Awesome.
it was what's his name from Prong? We have all these weird Prong connections, but they like one of the guys in Prong, I think, did the door, and Tommy Victor did sound.
Oh, Tommy Victor did sound.
Yeah, Rick from Crawl Happy did sound. And yeah, it was like a Monday night, and that was it. That's like you had to audition in order to. It's really weird. It was every Monday night.
That's fucking great, man.
Audition night.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned.
The show at CBGB's back then was like playing Madison Square Garden to me.
Oh,
like that was our absolute home away from home. We probably played CB's more than anywhere else, I think. Yeah, we were constantly playing there.
Oh, fuck yeah, man. And the sound of your band and CB's were just so synonymous. When I think back to those days, it's like, you know, it's a time and place that can't be captured. Obviously, St. Vitus filled a void for a lot of those missing venues that are no longer, like Coney Island High and Wetlands and all those great places. But yeah, some great times, man. And I don't want to fan out too much, but I think I've told you this before, man. When I saw a lot of people, they have their sort of moment where they see a band and it just sort of changes their life. And mine was, you mentioned Sick of It All. Mine was when I saw Sick of It All and Helmet at Roseland.
At Roseland, yeah, that was a great show.
Yeah, man, I never saw anything like that in my life.
It was totally sold out. That was awesome.
Unfucking believable, and you can't find it anywhere on YouTube. I need to find that video somewhere, man. But
yeah.
So I know people are asking questions, and I'll get to you soon. I had a couple more here. So Growing up in New York, man, or not growing up, but just being around at that time, what were some of your favorite venues to go to discover music?
There's so many venues back then, and now there's like none. Or now they're like just like these huge corporate gigantic places, but there were all these weird small places like Lismar Lounge that was just down the street on First Avenue, kind of around the corner from the Hells Angels, and that was just like you could just walk in there. There are bands 7 nights a week. Walk in there is pretty awesome. CB's had a really eclectic. If I was really bored, I would randomly go to CB's just to see what's going on. Let's see what else. There's so many. I don't know. That's
Some of them, yeah. It must have been cool for Battles to play Max Fish recently, which is, it's a tiny. For those of you that aren't familiar, Max Fish is a tiny space in the basement. They been doing some secret shows, and Battles and Run the Jewels and even HR from Bad Brains did something there. How was that experience for you, just getting back in the tiny club atmosphere?
That was totally amazing. We did that. We actually played a secret show in LA at my friend Atiba's restaurant, which was also really small. And then shout out to Atiba. And then we the next morning flew to New York and just went straight to Max Fish. It was really funny. It's crazy. I don't know why we didn't like at least have a day to do that, but it was like of course we partied like crazy in LA. And it was like 6 a.m. wake up to get to I think we flew out of I think we flew out of LAX, but it was insane. It was like an 8 a.m. flight and just went straight to Max Fish, and it was I got our second secret show. So
man, I'm so bummed I wasn't there. I know we have a mutual friend, Mark, if you're watching, Mark's the best. He's one of the owners there. I told him to let me know because I have a day job at Revolver. We would have loved to have filmed something like that. So if anything, I'm gonna take it to I'm gonna move on to Battles and Tomahawk and all that, but I do want to address some of the people that submitted questions here. So I'm gonna check it out real quick if that's cool.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. Propstar77 wants to know, hey John, when are you going to play with the Mark of Cain again?
Actually, we're talking about a tour maybe in October. I'm not sure, but because it's the 25th anniversary of Battlesick, the first record, or 30 years or something. So we'd probably be playing Battlesick in its entirety, which would be really amazing if I could do that. It's kind of, I was in the band in 2000 or like 2000. Well, yeah, about 99 or 2000. I was in the band, and it started out as I had known them for years. They played with us our first time, I believe, in Australia. So they contacted me and they're like, hey, do you want to be on our record? And I was like, sure. So I flew down to Australia, wrote the record with them, recorded it. This is right after Helmet too. So it was like, I need to keep my shop. I need to do stuff. And then it was like, hey, can you come back and play like this one show in Sydney or something? And then I was just like, can you come back and do a tour? And then the next thing I knew, I think it was 2000. I went 9 times in 1 year, which is that's kind of like almost once a month, like to Adelaide. So it was just like videos, tons of touring, blah, blah. But it was great because, like I said, I wanted to keep busy. I love those guys to death. And I've always been a really big fan of their music. Unfortunately, it's hard being in 2 other bands and trying to do that as well. And the bass player has like this really insane job, or had. So it's definitely, that was a hard band to be in, just from a logistical standpoint. And it's in Australia. It's like, it takes like 2 days to get, so it's,
God damn. All right, so FMT 213 wants to know, will you have T-shirts available, the one with the image of your drum set?
What? Well,
I'm not even aware of this. He's asking if there's going to be T-shirts with an image of your drum set. I don't know if that's a thing.
That was actually for my birthday. Again,
my
friend Tina made shirts for my birthday, which I had a really big party at Max Fish, and a bunch of bands played. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see.
All right, cool. We got two identical questions. One from @ObscuraArts and the other one from Joker Stat Guts. Any news on Tomahawk? I was going to ask that because I know that there are reports of a new record.
Yes,
in the works.
Absolutely. There is. Finally, we're getting around to the final stretch with it. We recorded it a while ago, like all the 80%, 75% of it. What was that? It was at least 2 years, 3 years, maybe even 4. So, and I went down to Nashville and we did that. So it's just kind of been sitting there. Trevor, what's happening? Yeah, so it's just kind of been sitting there. I mean, we knew we were gonna work on it. It was gonna see the light of day. It's not like it was shelved, but it was just like, it's kind of like the next thing you know, it's like, whoa, it's already been a year. Then the next thing you know, it's like this in 2 years. And plus, everyone else does tons of other stuff. So it's hard. It's also hard being in Tomahawk. I mean, those are some busy guys,
Yeah, for sure.
But it's absolutely happening. I don't know. Mike is doing vocals and whatever else he's going to do on it now, and I don't know how far he is. I think he's kind of like deep into it, so which is great news.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
I'm excited about that, man. Definitely a huge Tomahawk fan. This one was inevitable, and you can answer it in any way you want. But House of Jairus wants to know if you still keep in contact with Paige or Henry.
I definitely keep in contact with Henry. He's awesome. He's like my brother forever. I keep in touch with Henry. I've seen Rob once. He came to my 50th birthday party, which was amazing. And it was fantastic seeing him. I think he lives in New Jersey now. And that's it. I saw Peter Manganay once. That was like 10 years ago in Australia. That's totally it. I don't no contact whatsoever.
Yeah. All right, let's get some nerd questions from some drummers. Trivik Krama 108. What are your top 3 favorite snare drums in your collection? Specific. Is it someone that you know?
Tim Cohen, yeah. He's the guitar player in 108, and I was in a band with him.
Oh shit, I love 108.
I've known him. He's like one of the very first people I met when I moved to New York, and he was like 17 or 18, and we were actually in. So Helmet is not the first band I was in. Both of us were actually in Rapid Deployment Force, which is a really old New York hardcore band. Unfortunately, we didn't play any shows with them, and it was just like they were getting back together. I think they broke up, so they're getting back together. This is 1988, and we rehearsed at the Music Building, and it was really just like hanging out with them and learning the set. And for whatever reason, we never played out or something. And it was really short-lived too. It's like Helmet started immediately after that. But I was in this really cool. It was like the bass player from Antidote, bass player and guitar player from Antidote. And I was the singer. And there were like a bunch of different singers. But that was really fun. That was great. And they were like older brothers to me. They like to me and Tim, Trivik Krama.
Is there anything people could check out of that band online anywhere?
Yeah, I think there's like a demo tape. I have a really killer like live recording somewhere. That's awesome. But I think there's like some kind of demo. But they were, again, great guys. They really looked out for me and Tim, kind of taught me the ropes a little bit about living in New York, like what to avoid, blah, 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 blah. So it's, they were like older brother figures. Totally.
Cool. Well, I guess there's a couple people asking about snare drums. So he wanted to know, what are your favorite 3 snare drums that you own?
Oh, sorry. Oh my God. Well, the first one, of course, is the Strap It On snare, which is the oldest that I have. It's a Slingerland, and it was used on the Strap It On record and like the really early Helmet tours. And then I got hooked up with Tama, and I guess my other two favorite snares are like these brass, just brass snare. I forget the name of them. They're pretty old, but they're just awesome brass, very heavy Tama snares that I love, that I've been using forever. And I think I have like 4 or 5 of them, and I'm just constantly just like, I'm really not a gearhead at all. I couldn't tune like a drum to save my life. It's like, I'm really not a geared dude at all. So, I'll just like grab a snare drum, like, oh, okay, this head is still intact, and I'll just playing that. Or it's just, I'm constantly switching them around, and I lose track myself.
Do you have a standard size that you generally go to?
Yeah, I do. Let's see. I do like 14 by 6.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I know you've been with Tama for a while. Looks
Forever,
like
yeah.
I don't know why there's so many snare drum questions here. We had another one, but Drink to Remember, shout out to Corey Bonfiglio at Beer Street. He wants to know what your favorite recorded snare sound is. I'm assuming that he is referring to all the records. Out of all the records you've done, what's your favorite recorded snare sound that you've had?
Strap It On, of course, because it's so ridiculous and over the top that like a lot of people hate it, and I got so much flack for that. But it's basically, it's just, to me, it's funny because we recorded the whole record, and the last song we did, we're like, let's make the drums sound like a drum machine, and then we just kept. Well, that's a giant message. How is this person making their message so big? It's like this. Oh, weird. Anyway,
back on there in a second.
I love the Strap It On snare. I hate Meantime snare, and I love the Betty snare is pretty dope. I think and again, it's just like I'm not so much anymore, but I was like obnoxious snare guy. Like Strap It On was totally obnoxious, and then Betty, which T-Ray produced, was just like, you know, I think they layered 808s into the kick, and a lot of people don't like the Betty snare either, but I just love it. It's just, you know, I don't know. I think the drums on Betty are absolutely incredible sounding. They're huge.
Great. That was my introduction to you guys. Conrad Mata wants to know what was the Nirvana show like in Seattle that you played with them?
Oh, cool. We actually played a bunch of shows with them. Believe it or not, our second show ever, or third show or something, was opening for Nirvana at the Pyramid. And they were touring in a station wagon. This is definitely before Grohl was in the band. He was still in Scream. But they were touring in a station wagon with this like tiny little trailer, and they were just walking around on Avenue A barefoot, and it was just like, what the, like, and we played with them. That was like our second or third show, and then it's just like a couple years later, barely a couple years later, the next thing you know, we played, what did we play? We played this like festival in Portland where it was just us and like X and Poison Idea. And then we played at the biggest show we ever played with them was just us and them at the Seattle Superdome, or where the Sonics play. Like that was like, oh my God. Like, and it just, all of that whole era happened so fast, and it just, it's like it fell out of the sky. And it's just like, you know, one minute we were playing CBs, and the next minute it's just like, oh my God, it's like probably bigger than Madison Square Garden. And that was the peak of Nirvana. That was like unbelievable. That was an incredible experience.
That's fucking rad, dude. We covered a lot of ground on the past. Battles. How did Battles start? Where did that come into your career?
Battles started Ian Williams started the band, and he had just left Don Caballero, and he was doing Storm and Stress, and he moved to New York from Chicago, and I had known him from, Don Caballero is from Pittsburgh, and I had known those guys for a while. We just mutual friends, and Don Caballero played another really big show. We played was Don Caballero, Helmet, and Rage Against the Machine New Year's Eve in Detroit at some just like,
wow.
Like that was at the peak of Rage Against the Machine too. Like, so that was an incredible show. But I wanted them on the bill because I really was a huge fan of Don Caballero. So anyway, he moved to New York, and I ran into him on the street in Williamsburg, and he was just like, "Hey, I'm doing something with these other guys. Like, you want to like check it out?" And and so we just sort of started, and there was like no rush to figure out what we were doing or what we wanted to do. There was no rush at all. So it was just this like kind of, everyone had day jobs, and it took a minute to figure out exactly what it is that we're doing. And there wasn't really a rush. Battles is a really weird band, and it started out super weird. Yeah, it's not like
Tom Caballero was a difficult band, and a very techie band. So it's no surprise that Inky Brown wants to know what the most difficult song is to play in Battles. What's the hardest song for you to play?
Oh my God. I don't know. Let's see. Wall Street, we don't play that anymore, but that was pretty hard. I don't know. I mean, Atlas, maybe. That's a pretty punishing song, especially when it's at the end of the set, and I'm just like, I don't know. There's a new the song "A Loop So Nice." They played it twice. That's pretty damn hard to play. Yeah, or harder than others.
We got asked this question a few times, and I know this comes up a lot, but the high cymbal, what's the story?
Well, I wish I could say something. For years and years and years, we tried to be really clever about it, and like, oh, it's because my, I can't fully bend my arm, or I can only go like this. Really ridiculous stories, but I mean, honestly, it started out as a joke for our very first show, which we were opening for Le Savi Fav at North 6th, and I at first, when Battles first started, I was like, all right, I want this to be seriously different from anything I've ever done before. And so what can I do? I don't want to just play rock drums over this. That's not, So at first I wanted to be extremely minimal. And at first, like, I wasn't going to have any cymbals at all. And I was like, all right, I'll have hi-hats. But then I was like, all right, I'll have one cymbal. But it was used early on, it was used as like a marker. So it's like, so I wanted it to get completely out of the way, which is why it was half a joke, like, hey, isn't this funny? And everyone's like, leave it. Like, so yeah, I was like, really? Okay. Like, and I just remember it being kind of hard to play on the first show, but it's like, I would only hit it for like really significant parts of the songs. So
I thought it was, as a drummer, I thought it was cool because I noticed you went minimal, and the way I took it was that you were kind of pushing yourself to try to get as creative as possible with whatever you had in front of you. So that's cool shit. Yeah. Somebody else has
which is hard. I mean, it's hard trying to like reinvent the wheel and do totally new stuff, like record after record after record with this like small set, and with one cymbal. It's like, it's hard to like not just constantly repeat yourself, which I don't do. So we're always like kind of pushing things forward as a band. So it's like, we try not to repeat ourselves at all. Like, Ian gets an entirely new, every record he's gotten like a totally different setup, like completely different. So it's, then he has to learn how to do that. Then it's like, so yeah, we're always trying to do stuff like completely different.
Cool. Mark, this is kind of a similar topic because the symbol is so high, but Mark King, BM7, wants to know, how tall are you?
I think I'm 6'2", 4, 3.5.
Okay, yeah, no, it's funny because you and I met and we took a picture together, and I'm about 5'10", and you were just towering over me. I look like a fucking midget next to you, man. We got a lot of people asking questions. This is good. At Erkin Oze wants to know what happened to Kanaka.
I mean, he just he didn't want to do it anymore. And you know, unfortunately, it happened at a really bad time for us, and blah blah blah. But that's fine, you know. But at the end of the day, he couldn't do it anymore. He didn't want to do it. He seemed really unhappy. So yeah, I mean, he did what he had to do. So
yeah, that shit happens, man.
Yeah.
I just realized I skipped a question earlier that I wanted to, and we'll come back to Battles. But you did a interview on the St. Vitus Bar podcast, and I believe you talked a little bit about trying out for Ozzy Osbourne, and yeah, that's such a crazy story that I wonder how many people actually know that. I don't know if it's documented, but can you tell us how the Ozzy Osbourne audition happened? And this is a loaded question, but who was in the band at the time? When was it? And, you know, any details you could share, because that's very interesting.
It was right around 9/11. I feel like it was like 2000, and I had known Rob Trujillo for a long, long time, and he called me up, and he was just like, dude, like, I guess Puppy from Faith No More was playing, and he stepped out for a while, and then he went back. But so all of a sudden, he's not in the band anymore. And Rob Trujillo calls me. He's just like, dude, like, come out and try out for Ozzy. It'll be simple. Just do it. And I'm like, come on, man, I can't. Like, that's just not me, and I'm not good enough for that. And so they're like, no, just do it. And I was like, all right, well, it'll be an interesting experience, and it'll be a free trip to LA. And so they sent me like the entire back catalog of Ozzy CD, and I went to I didn't have a studio at the time, so I went to the Drummers Collective, which I'm not sure if that still exists, but you just have rooms with you rent rooms with there's already a drum set in there. And I like started playing stuff, and I was like, man, I can't. There's no way to learn the entire Ozzy catalog, which a third of it I don't really particularly like anyway. And so I was like, all right, whatever. So I go to LA. A car picks me up and takes me to this rehearsal place in the Valley, and so Rob and Steve, what was his name? The guitar player, Steve something, super nice guy, and Rob, of course, is the best. So I'm hanging out with them, and I showed up like an hour early to get everything set up or whatever. And there's this like humongous double kick, like 8 drum set with all these cymbals. I'm just like stripping it down to like a 4-piece, and Ozzy, I go to the bathroom, and he comes out of the bathroom, but he's like an hour early, and it's Ozzy and his Minder, and I had met him before, although I don't think he remembered me, but Helmet was in this movie called the Jerky Boys movie. I don't know if you remember the Jerky Boys.
Oh, hell yeah, of course.
Of course. So we're the band in the movie, and Ozzy is our manager, and like the equipment blitz. It's ridiculous, but I don't think he remembered that. But anyway, so he shows up an hour early, and I'm just like, damn it, like I'm not done fixing the drums or whatever. And he's just like, he is super cool, and he's like, I did Crazy Train.
Wow.
What else? Over the Mountain, and he would like sing right in front of me for a little bit, and then he would stop, and he would just go and he'd sit at the couch and just watch us playing, and then he would get back up again, and he would sing another like verse, or whatever. Then he'd like get bored or tired and stop, and he'd go just sit back at the couch again, and finally, what else did we do? We did a third song, which I don't remember. I think it was like a ballad or something.
Like Mama, I'm Coming Home or something like that.
Something like that, yeah, like a newer. And so he goes outside with his Minder to like talk to him or whatever, and Rob goes like, dude, hurry up, brother. Put the other bass drum back up there. Like, make it a double kick set again. Like, he won't know. Like, you don't even have to play. He's just so he sees it, because Ozzy loves double bass.
Oh my God.
So I'm like frantically putting the other bass drum back to where it was, and like toms and all this stuff. And he comes barreling back in, Ozzy, and I think we started playing The Wizard, or we started playing like a Sabbath song, just us jamming, whatever. And he was kind of just like cool. And of course, I knew I was never gonna get this gig ever. And B, I just wasn't prepared, and I was like, whatever, it's just for an experience, and it's fun and whatever. And but he was really nice. He was super cool. So we started playing like The Wizard, and as I'm playing, like I'm trying to play like see, there's double bass, check it out. And when the kick drums started moving, and it was like sideways, and it was just a mess. And I'm like trying to play The Wizard with like this kick drum that's like facing sideways now, and like it was hilarious. It was really funny.
That's fucking unbelievable.
Great guys all around, and it was cool. And and then I hung out in LA for like a week with all my friends. So it was fun.
Very interesting shit, man.
And then I think my boy Roy Mayorga, I think he got it. Or something happened with that. I've known him since he was in Nausea. So I've known him forever.
He's a great drummer. I just met him for the first time, and how fucking ironic that he's to people like us, we know him from Nausea, and now he's in Stone Sour, which is like this huge stadium rock band. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Great dude though. So it's like, great things happen to great people. So I really like him a lot.
Absolutely. I'm jumping around a little bit, but since we're talking about drummers, let me ask you a burning question. Who are your top 5 drummers of all time? Give it to me, man.
Neil Peart, of course. Peart, number 1. Bonham, number 2. Man. God, who else? Those are like the 2 drummers that just constantly blow me away.
Yeah, of course.
I was really into Carl Palmer. I thought he was really cool, from Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Of course, Bill Bruford, for sure.
That's 4 right there.
Okay, let's see. One last. I said Bruford. Who else?
Your friend.
Like Chuck Biscuits.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. Chuck Biscuits, man. Something about Chuck Biscuits that's amazing is like he never ended up on a Black Flag record, and obviously he was on Danzig and all, Circle Jerks and all that. But if anyone finds live footage of Chuck Biscuits with Black Flag playing the My War and Slip It In shit, it's unbelievable. It's very different from what ended up on the record, but great.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, great.
I mean, I was really into him when he was in DOA. Like, all those old DOA records are just slamming. They're like, to me, he's like my favorite, I guess. He's like my favorite punk drummer, I think. Yeah. But all the rest of the drummers that I mentioned are just people who I grew up listening to. So, of course, they're going to have, like, an incredible meaning to me as a player. And then when I got into, like, hardcore and stuff, Mackie, rules.
Oh, God, Mackie is unbelievable.
Rules.
Pro-Mags?
Nasty.
So ridiculous, dude.
He is, yeah.
So I just realized that question popped up because if I click on a question, what happens is that it appears like this.
Oh, weird.
So weird. I'm glad I know this now. Can you read that? Can you see it? Yeah.
Any background to the Battle show at Johnny Brenda's in Philly? I have no idea what you're talking about. Is that a venue?
It's a tiny bar. It's a tiny club in Philadelphia. It's kind of like it's not too different from like a Max Fish, but I don't know what they're talking about either. But
a battle show?
Yeah, I guess they think the battle.
Played tiny places, like a really long time ago. Yeah, Ryan. Yeah. So possibly, yeah. I mean, Helmet played tiny places too. All those places on like Khyber Pass. Remember, Helmet played Khyber Pass in the 80s, and there was like there was like a pole in the middle of the stage, and it was like just no one there at all. So, yeah.
All right, I'm going to take one more question before I go into some of the other stuff. I want to talk about DJing and things like that. But the Zint 75, John, huge fan of Helmet, and your playing in general. A few questions I had. All right, that's too long. I don't think that we can't even read it. Dan, if you're reading, please try to resubmit that, and we'll get to it. But let's jump to this, John. You've been DJing. How long have you been DJing? And tell us a little bit about the background there.
That I kind of I had always collected records, so I'm a huge vinyl guy. And then basically I kind of fell into that by accident, where it was in between Helmet, and actually I fractured my wrist twice. God, I did that twice. Each wrist, like hairline fractures, but so I couldn't play, and I was kind of freaking out a little bit in it. And then someone, Kato-san, yeah, I'll get to that. Hold up. So somebody was like, "Hey, DJ my birthday party at Bob." So Bob is that's kind of where everyone learned how to DJ. At a certain time in New York, like all downtown DJs feel like cut their teeth at Bob, and it was just like $75 for like 8 hours of playing. It was 100% hip hop. That's all it was. So I really cut my teeth at Bob, and then my really good friend Operator M's would give me other gigs of his that he couldn't do, and some of them were like really big. This place, Lava, over by Limelight, was like a really big club, and
yeah,
super jiggy. You know, you have to be super jiggied out and like listen to Hot 97 and run to Rock and Soul and buy some remix that just came out or blah 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 blah. And you had to have that but this is before Serato, so you had to have vinyl for that. So it was kind of a pain in the ass. And then of course I did, I think 2 nights at this place, Bahi. Shout out to Brad at American Cheese, his new bar. But it was a place, Bahi. It was on like 3rd Avenue in the 20s, where it was like kind of Murray Hill. It was cool. Everyone who worked there were totally awesome. The money was great. You could just seriously party there. No one cared. It was, again, just like hip hop classics, stuff like that. Crowd was a little whack, but whatever, you know. And then I ended up just staying there, really. And then 9/11 happened, so I stopped DJing. Actually, and then the show after that was me and Sergio Vega from Quicksand.
Yeah.
Our friend in Osaka, Japan, wanted us to like recreate. Actually, I used to do a party at Niagara with Sergio and Trevor, who's writing me now. Slimsner, and it was at Niagara in the basement, and a friend of ours in Japan wanted to like recreate that party, so he flew us to Osaka, and it was me, Sergio, and his daughter, and we got the first flight out of LaGuardia, and then it went to Toronto, and then the rest of the flight got canceled, so then we had to like leave the airport in Toronto, get a hotel, and then the next morning we flew from Toronto to Vancouver, and then that flight got canceled. This is like really fast right after 9/11, so everything was canceling, and it was just complete chaos. And then we finally got a flight from Vancouver to Osaka, and then we DJ'd. It was awesome. It was super fun. And then I went on to Australia from there. From I flew to Tokyo, and then from Tokyo I went to Australia to do Mark of Cain stuff. And Sergio, God bless his heart, took my records back. So it was like Sergio and his, like, I think she was 10, like his 10-year-old daughter, really cool. But he had like, all of a sudden it's like 12 records. It was just like, oh my God.
Oh yeah. Sergio is the best. He is he's one of the nicest guys. I actually got to know Serge when he was DJing back at Lit, actually.
Right.
He used to DJ there.
Radio.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, he went crazy with DJing. Like I sort of stopped and started playing drums again, and he just went like full on insane DJ guy. And then it was just like, I'd come back from tour. It's just like, whoa, like he just was killing it.
Yeah, man. He actually was DJing on Instagram for everybody recently, like last week, for people to check out. So I love
Crazy,
that.
yeah.
He's keeping that going. What? So you are still DJing though? People can come see you at some point?
For sure. I'm actually DJing Saturday on the internet. And let's see. Yeah, I mean, I was living in Berlin for a long time recently, and I was DJing there and really getting super into like just house and techno, which is basically, that's kind of all I listen to now, and that's definitely all I DJ. All my hip hop records are in the basement of this building, like, so I definitely pay attention to house, techno, stuff like that. I try and keep like current as possibly as I can. Okay, I won't. I know it's bad. I keep, yeah.
That's my friend Corey. Shout out to Kato, man, and dude.
He's played. Another excellent DJ is Kato man in Japan. One of my oldest and best friends is just killing it, and he like invented his own like form of music called cheese wave. Fantastic DJ.
That's awesome, man. Where can people watch you DJ on Saturday on the internet? It's gonna be on Instagram or what?
Oh man. No. It's oh wait, it has to be, right?
Yeah, you're gonna want to do it on Instagram.
I think so. Yeah. It's I said yes to it, and I'm kind of like it's complicated. Like I had to download this software. I'm doing like a sound check with them tomorrow. I had to install something in my computer. It's going to be, because there's audio. The audio is going to come out of the mixer into my laptop, which, oof, how am I going to do that? I have a USB, I think. Anyway, I'll figure it out. But it's not just like with my phone on Instagram. It's way more complicated. So
okay. Well, people can follow you on your Instagram. One of the questions someone asked that I was going to ask is, can you actually recommend for some of us that aren't as in tune with, I personally love house and techno from, I was just dating a DJ and she was always bringing me parties, but can you recommend some house and techno artists that people should check out?
Oh my God. I mean, Prince Thomas, of course. There's just so much music. It's I like the Compact label a lot. I feel like it's a ton of music, and it's all about like labels too. I basically will, like, Magazine is a great label, and I'll basically just like buy anything. Well, they give them to me, but like I'll check everything out that comes out on that label. And I'm actually in a band that's on that label called Zon, and that's my ZON, and that's my metal, my like extreme metal band.
Dude, how did I not know
really,
that?
really good. It's mixed, amazing. It's on Magazine. It's on Spotify, but and we're gonna do another record. It's incredible.
I gotta check that out,
New
man.
Caribou's dope, definitely. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah, thank you for that. I definitely want to check out some of those artists that you mentioned and the metal band that I had no idea about. So that's rad.
Yeah, very. It's on Magazine, which is like a very small, tiny label from Cologne. And basically, it's like they kind of. Normally, it's like 99.9% of all the releases are techno, and so they threw a curveball with Zon because it's like Pantera or something, like, and but it's mixed like a dance record, so the drums are super up and dry, and it's heavily edited, and it just is incredible. So it's like mixed like a dance record, sort of, if that makes any sense.
No, man, I'm getting distracted by the questions that people are asking. Sorry. Was Battles in a Twilight movie? NPR radio. Oh, is this your friend?
Yeah. We weren't in the movie, but we the movie Twilight, which we didn't know anything about. It's just like teenage vampire movies, something like that. Contacted us, this is years ago, and they're like, we want you guys to write a song for this. There's a fight scene in the movie, and we're like, all right. So it's like they physically flew somebody to New York and handed it. We had to sign these forms, like, saying we can't tell anybody about this, or like no one can see this. Like it was like super top secret. I guess that movies are that big, but so we wrote a song, but they hated it because it was like it was like really written for the film, like just perfectly. The fight scene was just insane, and we wasted so much time on that, and so they're like, yeah, that's not really what we had. The director was like a big fan, so he was like, all right, just do it again, but just not as crazy. So we wrote this song. I don't even know if I have it anymore. Like, and they were just like, cool guys. That still is not really what we're looking for. So yeah, it was a lot of time too, that we worked on that. But it's cool,
Cool, man. We're gonna jump around because of all the questions, and I just Josh Lozano, 60 Cycle of Sound. He's in the band Fashion Week. He said, was it cool shooting with Steve Buscemi? I'm sure what he's referring to is that you have been confused with the actor Christopher McDonald. Do you get that from Happy Gilmore? The guy, what was the actor's name? Shooter McGavin. Anyone ever mistake?
Oh, that. Yeah. Although that guy, he has like piercing blue eyes. I'm like, maybe the hair, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I get it. It's funny, but that's like years now of like, okay, Shooter McGavin. Yeah.
I get it.
And for some people, for some reason, English people say that a lot. And I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense. I guess that movie was huge in England.
Unbelievable. All right, so my buddy Il Tone, who's actually playing drums in Sheer Terror. Shout out to Tone. He
Hell yeah.
Yeah. He wants to know what your favorite Helmet albums are in order, the ones that you played on.
Man, that's just, it's impossible for me to, I just can't. That's like, who's your favorite kid? Like, it would definitely be, well, it's really just not much. So it's like, it would definitely be either Meantime or Betty, of course. And then Strap It On was just really weird and how it came out. And I'm not that big of a fan of Aftertaste. I'm sorry, but yeah, so it would be Betty or Meantime for sure, I guess.
Cool. I loved all of them. I loved Aftertaste. I thought that was super underrated, but man, that's cool to know where you stand on that. Lamo Nick wants to know what your favorite King Crimson album is.
It's another really hard question to answer, man, because there's so many different eras of King Crimson. And speaking of which, I want to say rest in peace to my really good friend Bill Rieflin, who was playing drums with King Crimson just now, and he just passed away. He was in REM for a long time. He was in Swans.
Oh yeah.
I've known him forever. He was in Ministry. So I met him when we toured with Ministry. Anyway, King Crimson. So I like Red a lot. I like Three of a Perfect Pair. The weird 80s, like there are those Discipline, Three of a Perfect Pair, and Beat, I think, the blue one, are like this really weird 80s era of it's the way it's mixed and everything sounds really crazy. Adrian Belew, but I guess old King Crimson, I suppose, like Starless and Bible Black,
Yeah. We got two people asked the same question, actually. Conrad Mata and Heavy Jams. What was it like working with Steve Albini?
Sweeney. Albini is cool. Like, that was like a really long time ago. We went to Chicago. God, this is way before Meantime, I think. Yeah. So we went to Chicago and we demoed 3 songs, 2 of which never even made an album, which there's like a bootleg of. And then we ended up, and he recorded for us, and he's a really cool guy. Of course, an amazing, like doing what he does, it's like second to none. There's nobody can get drum sounds like Albini. We recorded at Chicago Recording Company, and then we ended up I forget why too. I have no idea. We ended up only using the song In the Meantime. So the first song on Meantime that's Albini, and then everything else is Andy Wallace.
Okay.
Why we did that? No idea.
Zint75, what's up, Dan? Betty seemed like it took a different direction as far as sound. Who was responsible for that?
100% T-Ray. I know others would probably disagree, but I feel like, well, the songs for sure, the songwriting. But T-Ray was a hip-hop guy, produced the Artifacts, Cypress Hill, what else? Like the Hooligans. Yeah, so he was this like pretty of the moment hip hop dude. And we met him because we did a song with House of Pain for this movie Judgment Night, and the soundtrack was a great idea. I still love that soundtrack. It's awesome. And then that came out
legendary.
Really good. We did that in two sections. Like House of Pain came to when they were in New York. We actually recorded at Wharton Tears, which is where Strap It On was done, and like Sonic Youth, Swans, like he's that guy, and it was in the basement of somewhere on like 20th Street. And this is the super of the building, so he cheekily got used the basement. Anyway, so they came, recorded like half of it, and then when we were in LA, we went to their studio and recorded the rest. And then T-Ray, did he mix it or he did? I think he did a remix on a 12-inch, or maybe he like mixed it. So we liked that so much, and the song "Just Another Victim" came out so good. We asked him to produce Betty, and so he did. And I was just like, man, make those drums like as rap as possible. And so he was like throwing like 808s. Him and Anton Puchansky, his engineer. Yeah, so that came out. That's a pretty bombastic record, but at the same time, it's we didn't want to do Meantime Part 2, and that's a really weird record, but I think it came out totally awesome. We could have really ate it on that one, but we were very lucky. It came out like incredible.
Yeah, we're and by the way, before we get off that, people still talk about that soundtrack. I was gonna say cassette tape because I had it on cassette, but I'm dating myself now. But yeah, like at my job at Revolver, we still post about that, like the anniversary of it, and there's some resurgence of like this like hip hop metal thing, but it's not like new metal. It's just sort of it's this like new sort of thing, and people reference that a lot, or that soundtrack, which is cool. I do want to address somebody on here that wanted to know. I mean, we talked about this earlier, but Amy Oze, my 10-year-old daughter wants to know how old you were when you started playing, which we talked about earlier. I believe you said you were, how old were you when you started playing drums?
Well, when you started playing drums, or when I started like playing drums professionally?
No, just playing drums in general. This is
just playing in general. Oh my God, there's like baby pictures of me playing. There's a picture I have of in my pajamas playing. My parents bought me this, like, I don't even remember, but they bought me, this is how long ago, I mean, I couldn't have been older than 3. It was ridiculous. And but I'm playing like with these gigantic drumsticks, and for some reason, of course, I did not know how to keep time at 3, but it's like my hand is like perfectly hitting the hi-hat. It looks so cool. So I had like this tiny drum set, and then I had one snare drum, and then just took it from there. But yeah, I've been playing my entire life, for sure.
I think we're going to take one more fan question, and then I'm going to ask you the same question that I ask everyone at the end, because we're getting a lot of repeat questions. They're all kind of the same at this point. So I'm gonna blend this one in because they're all related. But what's it like playing with Trevor Dunn, Mike Patton, and Dwayne Dennison? With 3 people ask about all 3 members, so I'm just going to throw it out as one big question.
They're incredible people, super fun, and it's easy being in a band with them. I think that they have been doing it, you know, everyone else does other things. Everyone's a lot older. It's really like, it's mature and immature at the same time, because they're insane. So but it's really fun. And touring was, it's one of those really early Tomahawk tours. Like, you know, shout out to Dwayne Dennison for sure. I mean, I love all three. Patton, I love. Trevor Dunn rules. But Dwayne Dennison, you know, asked me from the get-go if I was interested in doing something with him, and I was super bummed out about Helmet. I had just quit. The phone was not ringing off the hook at all, and I was starting to like have doubts about if I can continue to do this or not. I was running out of money, and like, and that just kind of came out of nowhere. And I've known Dwayne like forever from touring with the Jesus Lizard, and he's definitely like an older brother figure to me. And he just asked me if I wanted to be in the band. I'd known Patton from when Helmet toured with Faith No More, and we're about the same age. Awesome dude. And at first it was Kevin Romanis from the Cows and Melvins.
Yeah.
But those first two records, like right around 9/11-ish, like 2001, 2003, 2004, something like that, was this Tomahawk was the perfect bridge in between like post-Helmet and like Battles. And they're just like a pleasure to tour with. They're super fun. They're totally insane. Again, you never really know what's gonna happen. And it's cool. Tomahawk is just this thing that won't like stop. It's like, I mean, everyone has to have time to do it, and then we didn't do a record for a super long time. Then we did a record with just the three of us, and we didn't tour on it, like a concept record called Anonymous. That was amazing, but we played no shows on that, and then a bunch of other years. So it's like this 8-year gap, and then we did another record and toured on that, Oddfellows, and then we're about to have another record out. So Tomahawk is this cool thing that has just always kind of been around, and everyone just respects everybody else, and they're just great people.
I can't wait for the new record on Ipecac, and shout out to Mike Patton. We're both signed to his label, so it's
nice
to work with someone that is so prolific, and the lineup that you guys have in that band is just ridiculous. And shout out to Mike Dijon is in the house from Breakdown.
Oh, cool. What up, Mike?
We just had him the other day. So, all right, this is the question I ask everybody. So let's just imagine, I mean, hopefully we're going to get out of this quarantine and everything's going to get back to, quote unquote normal. But let's say we're stuck here and you have 5 records that you're stuck with. What are those records?
Really difficult questions, man. Oh my God. Did that have to be in order?
No, I won't put too much pressure on you like that.
Well, okay. Corrosion, Conformity, Animosity.
Fuck yeah.
Bad Brains, Roar Cassette.
Nice.
Of course. The Breakdown demo, 7-inch. Like Rush, Permanent Waves. What was that, 4?
That's 4. We got one more.
Oh man. Rush, Fly By Night.
Dude, it makes a lot of sense that I have gravitated towards you as a player, because you just named 5 records that most of which would have ended up on mine. So that's a great fucking list. I love it.
Yeah, great Reed Mullen.
Yeah, seriously, man.
Good.
Well, dude, before we sign off, I just can't thank you enough for doing this. You're a huge inspiration to me and to obviously a lot of people. Like, this is some of the most engagement that I've gotten from any of the interviews.
Whoa, wow. Crazy.
I barely got to half the questions because it's just been fucking ridiculous. Like, you can't see them, but I can see them on my question mark box, and they've just been popping off. But do you have any last shout outs or any last comments or anything you want to share before we say goodbye to everybody?
Well, I mean, the honor is all mine. Thank you so much for including me and this is really cool. It's kind of weird, but it's really cool too. In these unfortunate times. But man, just thank you so much. I'm always very humbled by I didn't start doing this to, you know, be I'm amazed that people like still are fans of my playing. It's like I never went out of the way to do that, and I never thought this was going to happen. And I feel I'm really lucky. I've had multiple careers, sort of, where, you know, so I'm just very grateful to that. And yeah.
Hell yeah, man! Humbleness takes you a long way, and you're one of those guys that is a good example of how to do things right, in my opinion. So thanks again, and stay safe out there, and hopefully we'll be seeing you perform live very soon.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't wait.
Awesome. Take care, man.
All right, man. Thank you so much. This is really fun.
All right. Talk to you soon, brother. Peace.
Yeah.
Guys, thanks for joining us. That was one of the highlights of my, whatever you want to call it, because of what a huge inspiration that guy is to me. And it's an honor. It really is. It's because of you guys that we get to keep doing this and getting cool guests, and we've been getting hit up a lot. This has turned into something completely beyond my imagination. We've been getting hit up by publicists of all sorts of bands. So I will tell you who we have coming up at the moment. Tomorrow, I'll be speaking with another drummer, Hosoji from Helmsley. He put out one of my favorite records in 2019. And on Friday, my co-host, Dave Castillo, is going to be interviewing Ethan McCarthy of Primitive Man. I'm going to be doing this on my socials on the weekends because on the Vitus channel, we're only doing it Monday through Friday. On the weekend, on Saturday, I'm going to interview Chaka Malik of Orange 9mm and Burn, and Freddie Alva of the Urban Styles Graffiti book. They put out a legendary compilation called New Breed. They made a documentary about it, and it's got a lot of cool bands, and we'll be talking to them on Saturday about that at Chris Enriquez Drums. You can follow me on there. My band is called Spotlights, at Spotlights Music. And at St. Vitus Bar, you're already here, so you know what that's all about. But and my other band, at Total Meltdown NYHC, that's my hardcore band. Thank you to St. Vitus for letting me do this. Thank you, George. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Artie. And if you want to donate and help the bar out during this difficult time, you can buy merch on their website, stvitusbar.com. And you can also donate to them on the Venmo tip jar, Saint/Vitus/bar, at Saint/Vitus/bar is their handle. Thank you. Stay safe. Social distance, wash your hands, sanitize, and listen to heavy music at all times. Peace out. I'm your host, Chris Enriquez. This has been an episode of Age of Quarantine. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much.